Okay, so here I'm going to prove the exterior angle theorem. We should have a good understanding of what it actually states in words. This just gives us maybe a more general view, and also just being able to go from the words to a general case that I have written below it is somewhat important. So the sum of any two angle measures in a triangle is equal to the measure of the exterior angle of the third angle. So what does that mean? So if I take the sum of angle A and angle B, that has to equal the measure of the exterior angle of the third angle. So the third angle is C, the exterior angle is D. So it's essentially saying that measure of A plus measure of B is equal to measure of D. But I could have done this for any two of the angles, right? So like, for example, B has some exterior angle right here. Let's call it E, right? The theorem equally implies that measure of A plus measure of C is equal to measure of E, right? And that's why it's just key to sort of be able to really take the words and put it in a very general setting. But in this case, this triangle is general. A and B and C and all this is all general. So I'm just going to prove this statement. I'm just going to prove that the measure of A plus the measure of B is equal to the measure of D. If we write it as an if-then statement, what's really given is that it's a triangle, and that these are interior angles. So we'll just say that it's a triangle ABC. And we'll just say that that's what's given, that we're dealing with a triangle here. Okay, fair enough. Now, what I'm going to state right away is I'm going to say that the measure of A plus the measure of B plus the measure of C is equal to 180. And we know that's true because of the triangle sum theorem. And then I'm going to state that C plus D, the measure of these two angles, form the straight line. So I'm just going to say that the measure of C plus the measure of D is also equal to 180. D is equal to 180. And I know that because they form that straight line. Then 4, I'm going to say that the measure of A plus the measure of B plus the measure of C is 180. The measure of C plus the measure of D is 180. Therefore, these two equations are equal to each other. And I'm going to write that they equal each other. So I'm going to write measure of A plus measure of B plus measure of C is equal to the measure of C plus the measure of D. And this is substitution. I substituted, instead of writing 180 here, I wrote this one, or whatever you want it. You could say it however you want. Instead of writing 180 here, I wrote this. Okay, because this is equal to 180, so instead of writing that, I wrote the 180. Now, my final step is just subtraction. If you look on both sides here, I have measure of angle C. So I could subtract measure of angle C on both sides, and this is 0. Then I have measure of angle A plus measure of angle B is equal to measure of angle D. And this is subtraction property of equality. You could just write subtraction. And then you're done from this point on. That's it.